In life, there are generally two kinds of people. Those who wait around hoping for change to happen, and those who step forward and become the change themselves. And when it comes to women, history has never been moved forward by those who chose to stay safe all the time. It's the women who stood firm in the middle of storms, who made daring choices when everyone else decided to stay silent, that shifted the world. They are remembered not because they had no fear, but because they decided that courage mattered more than comfort. I met a young woman not long ago. She had a sharp mind, wonderful ideas, and endless potential. But she said to me, "Sir, what if I fail? What if they laugh at me?" I smiled and told her, "But what if you succeed? What if you break every barrier your grandmother was once told could never be broken? What if that one brave decision opens doors for generations to follow?" Smart women don't just plan for the future, they move toward it. Not because the path is easy, but because they choose to stay strong in a world that often underestimates them. And let me tell you, real strength doesn't have to be loud. It's not about yelling or making noise. It's in the quiet, determined choices made with clarity, confidence, and courage. There's something deeply powerful about a woman who chooses temporary discomfort over a lifetime of regret. It's not that she enjoys the pressure or likes to be uneasy. It's that she understands a truth many take years to realize. The pain of growing fades, but the pain of regret can sit with you forever. Every wise woman knows that her comfort zone is like a soft, invisible cage. It feels secure, it feels familiar. But it's also the place where dreams slowly wither away. She might see others sitting comfortably in that same space, never daring to shake things up, but she makes another choice. She stands up, steps into the unknown, even with fear in her chest and shaky hands, because deep inside she knows this one truth: nothing truly valuable comes from staying too comfortable. Imagine a woman named Aisha. She has a steady job, decent pay, some recognition, and very little stress. But every evening she goes home feeling a strange emptiness, because her heart has always wanted to be a writer. Words move her. Stories burn in her mind, yet for years she told herself, maybe next year, maybe when I'm ready. But that magical ready never came. What did come was habit, fear, and hesitation. Then one evening while scrolling through social media, she stumbles on a quote that pierces her heart. "If you don't build your dream, someone will hire you to build theirs." Something clicks. The next morning, she doesn't quit her job. Not yet, but she gets up 1 hour earlier than usual. She writes. She publishes her first blog post. She sends her first short story to a magazine. She faces rejection. She wonders if she's foolish to try. She thinks, maybe I'm just not good enough. Her writing isn't perfect, but she sticks with it. She chooses discipline over ease. A year later, that decision pays off. One of her stories gets picked up by a major publication. Slowly, more opportunities come her way. Eventually, she walks away from her safe but soul-draining job. Not because she had everything planned out, but because she had built something bold from her discomfort. This is what smart women do. They refuse to let fear make the decisions. Fear will always whisper. You're not ready, you might fail, people will talk. But she answers that voice with action, because she would rather live with a scar from trying than with the heavy weight of never trying at all. You've seen it before. Someone looking back years later, saying, I wish I had taken that chance. Their eyes hold a sadness that safety can never fix. Wise women learn from those stories. They don't sit around waiting for the perfect time. They understand there's no such thing as perfect timing. Waiting for every condition to be right is just another form of delay. So instead of waiting, they prepare. They take small but steady steps. They accept the possibility of falling, but they never accept a life filled with what ifs. Think of a lotus flower. It doesn't bloom in clear, clean water. It blossoms in mud. In the same way, bold women aren't born from easy, smooth lives. They are shaped in the fires of discomfort, persistence, and brave choices. The girl who leaves her small town to study in another country, even when her whole family tells her to stay. The mother who returns to school in her 40s because she refuses to let her dreams fade. The businesswoman who risks her savings because she believes in her vision more than her fears. These aren't stories of luck. They're stories of grit and belief. A smart woman doesn't see discomfort as a solid wall. She sees it as a door, and she walks through knowing that every step will make her stronger. The road isn't smooth. Some days she cries. Some days she doubts herself. Some days she wants to quit. But she reminds herself, comfort might give me safety today, but discomfort will give me growth tomorrow. And growth is what she's chasing. Not applause, not the easy road, but a life that will make her proud when she's old and looking back. So the next time you have two choices, comfort or courage, remember, one will keep you safe for now, the other will make you proud for life. Choose discomfort, not because it's pleasant, but because it's how you grow, how you change, how you break the habit of staying small. Smart women don't run from discomfort. They welcome it, work with it, and let it shape them into the women they were meant to be. Not flawless, not without fear, but bold enough to keep walking forward even when it hurts. Legacies aren't built in safety. They're built in those small, brave moments when someone chooses to grow instead of settling. They speak even when their voice shakes, because they know silence isn't always golden. Sometimes silence is the chain that keeps whole generations trapped in fear, injustice, and missed chances. A wise woman understands her voice isn't just sound. It's a tool, a light, a bridge. And even if it trembles at first, it has the power to change rooms, heal relationships, and start movements. Boldness isn't about being loud. It's about being brave enough to tell the truth when it matters most. Picture a young woman named Fatima who works in a corporate office. She is bright, hardworking, and often the one with the most creative solutions in meetings. But each time there's a discussion, she hesitates. She writes her points in a notebook. She rehearses them silently. But when the moment comes to speak, her heart pounds, her palms sweat, and fear tightens her throat. What if they think she's wrong? What if they laugh? What if they talk over her like before? One day, there's a big meeting. The department is ready to launch a strategy that she believes will fail. She knows she has a better plan. Her coworkers begin presenting the current proposal. Then her chance comes. Everything in her wants to stay quiet. It would be easier, safer. But something deep within her says, if not now, when? She raises her hand. Her voice shakes, her words stumble, but she speaks. She explains her idea, supports it with data, and outlines her alternative strategy. The room is still for a moment. Then people begin nodding. The director asks her to explain further. The team starts discussing it. The following week, her plan is officially adopted. That single moment, those shaky, imperfect words, open a new path for her, not just at work, but in her own self-belief. She learned that day that courage isn't about having no fear. It's about acting even while afraid. Speaking up isn't always easy. It means risking rejection, but it also means opening the door to change. It means there may be moments where you find yourself standing on your own. But wise women understand that their voice can be the very tool that unlocks not only their own freedom, but also the freedom of those around them. Think about the many women across history who dared to speak when the world told them to stay quiet. Malala raised her voice for education when extremists tried to silence her. Rosa Parks made her stand by staying seated, refusing to move when she was told to give up her place. These were not easy, comfortable moments. They were choices made with trembling hands and pounding hearts. And still, they changed the course of history. You don't have to be speaking to thousands or addressing an entire nation for your words to hold meaning. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell your partner what is hurting you instead of pretending everything is fine. Sometimes it's telling your parents you want to pursue a career they don't approve of. Sometimes it's telling a friend that their joke isn't funny. It's hurtful. These are the quiet acts of rebellion. These are the bold moves that send ripples through your life, leaving a lasting mark. There is also strength in speaking to yourself. A smart woman knows the words she says in her own mind shape the way she steps into the world. When the inner critic yells, "You're not enough," she replies, "I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm worthy." Even the soft self affirmations matter, because the world already has so many voices telling her to shrink, she refuses to be one of them. She becomes her own voice of courage. In the real world, you will enter rooms where your ideas are dismissed before they are even heard. You will meet people who cut you off, doubt you, or ignore your input. But if you keep choosing silence, you hand them the victory. Speaking up, even when your voice trembles, is a way to claim your place. It tells the world, and even more importantly, yourself, that your presence carries weight and your thoughts hold value. A wise woman isn't loud because she craves attention. She speaks because she knows the price of silence is too high. It could cost her peace, her dreams, her true self. She learns that with every time she speaks her mind, her confidence grows a little steadier. Over time, her words come out less shaky, more grounded, and more powerful. Some people stay stuck for years, not because they aren't capable, but because they lack the courage to speak when the moment came. A smart woman refuses to let fear lock her lips. She picks discomfort over regret. She chooses truth over being liked. And she chooses to rise even if her voice quivers while doing so. At the end of the day, it isn't about having the loudest voice in the crowd. It's about having the courage to speak when it truly matters. That kind of bravery doesn't just shift situations, it transforms the woman herself. Every time she speaks up in the face of fear, she strengthens the foundation of who she is becoming: bold, wise, and unstoppable. She walks away from situations that make her soul smaller, not because she lacks emotion, but because she has learned to treasure her peace, her purpose, and her power. A wise woman doesn't cling to what drains her simply because it once made her happy. She understands that anything which slowly wears away her self, worth, joy, or ambition isn't meant to be kept forever. Letting go is rarely easy, but she is brave enough to release what no longer fits the woman she's growing into. Imagine a woman named Zara. She had been in a relationship for years. On the surface, everything looked wonderful. He was charming, successful, and liked by everyone they knew. But deep inside, she felt unsettled. Over time, she noticed how he subtly belittled her dreams. "You think you can start a business? That's cute," he would say with a smirk. When she achieved something, he'd find a way to downplay it. If she felt sad, he'd call her too sensitive. It wasn't loud, obvious cruelty. It was quiet, gradual, and sly. But it was enough to make her question her worth. For a long while, she stayed, convincing herself she was just overthinking, telling herself love meant compromise. Slowly, her smile faded. She stopped sharing her ideas. She began to shrink into herself. One afternoon, sitting in a cafe with her notebook open, she realized she hadn't written anything in over a month. Writing had always been her safe haven, her passion. Now it felt like a distant memory. With a tight throat and tears threatening to fall, she whispered to herself, "I can't keep living like this." Zara walked away, not out of hatred for him, but out of love for herself. She refused to let the small, daily ones keep cutting her spirit. It wasn't an easy choice. Doubt crept in. Nights felt cold and lonely. Minutes felt long. But day by day, she began to reclaim parts of herself. She wrote again. She took long walks, cooked meals she loved, and rediscovered how to laugh in her own company. Slowly, she came home to herself. This is the quiet courage of a wise woman. She doesn't always storm out. Sometimes the farewell is gentle. Sometimes it's a decision made silently in the dark, but it's always rooted in deep truth. Anything that demands you become less of yourself just to keep it is not love. It's a cage. She refuses to stay in friendships where she's only tolerated, not celebrated. She doesn't cling to jobs that kill her creativity for the sake of a paycheck. She doesn't run after people who make her feel like she's too much. She walks away, not because it's easy, but because her soul matters. Leaving is not weakness. There's nothing more striking than a woman who has stepped away from what no longer serves her. You can see it in her eyes and in the way she moves. There's a peace in her because she's no longer fighting the wrong battles. There's a lightness in her step because she's not carrying the weight of things never meant for her. People notice she's glowing differently. It's not makeup. It's not a new wardrobe. It's the glow of self-respect, of peace, of choosing herself after years of neglecting her needs. Sometimes walking away means saying goodbye to the version of yourself who settled for less. It's mourning the old story and beginning a new one. It's frightening, but it's also freeing. With every step forward, she shows the world how to treat her. She sets the standard not just for others, but for herself. That's true empowerment. That's what makes a smart woman magnetic. Not her beauty, not her social standing, but her decision to rise even if she must walk alone. So, to the woman holding on to what is quietly dimming her light, listen closely. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not dramatic for distancing yourself from what hurts. You are not weak for walking away. You are wise. And in that wisdom, you are becoming the woman you were always meant to be, brave, whole, and free. They choose to invest in growth, not gossip. A wise woman knows energy is a currency, and she guards it carefully. While the world spends time talking about others, judging, comparing, and criticizing, she is quietly working on herself, shaping her character, learning new skills, reading meaningful books, listening to wisdom, watching the world with curiosity rather than bitterness. She understands something simple but powerful. You can't grow and gossip at the same time. Gossip feeds the ego, growth feeds the soul. Take the example of Ikra, a woman working in a small office, surrounded by coworkers more interested in discussing other people's lives than improving their own. Every lunch break, the chatter revolved around who was getting divorced, who unfairly got promoted, or what someone wore at the company event. At first, Ikra joined in, not because she enjoyed it, but to avoid feeling left out. But every time she left those conversations, she felt drained and heavy, with a lingering sense of wasted time. One afternoon, in the middle of yet another gossip session, someone began criticizing a female colleague for being too ambitious. She was always acting as if she was somehow above everyone else. That's what people said. The woman they whispered about was actually the one who stayed late after work, took extra training classes, and kept her social circle small. That realization hit Ikra one day. People don't usually gossip about those who do the least. They gossip about the ones who do more. And that small truth shifted something deep inside her. She decided she was going to step away from that noise. It wasn't an easy move. When she began skipping the usual lunchtime gossip sessions, instead choosing to eat alone with a book in her hand or watch leadership talks in the break room, some people rolled their eyes. A few even mocked her openly. One day she made herself a bowl of food and said in the break room, just following the new protocol. The comment didn't stop the whispers. Oh, she thinks she's too good for us now. They laughed, but Ikra tuned it all out. Instead of wasting time on empty chatter, she began pouring those minutes into building herself up. Months passed. She earned a respected certification in her field, started a small side business, and eventually stepped into a role she once thought was far out of reach. All because of one quiet yet powerful decision. My personal growth matters more than meaningless talk. A wise woman knows that what she feeds her mind becomes her reality. If all you give your mind is drama, negativity, and shallow judgments, your thinking becomes small, reactive, and easily swayed. But if you fill it with learning, encouragement, creative ideas, and steady discipline, you start to become magnetic. People are drawn to you not to gossip, but to seek guidance. That's how a smart woman builds real influence, not by being the loudest voice in the crowd, but by being the calmest, most focused presence in the room. Life is filled with distractions. Social media itself is like a constant open door, tempting you to compare yourself with others or pick apart someone else's life. But the woman who scrolls past gossip, who chooses instead to watch an inspiring video, read something thoughtful, or write down her ideas in a journal, she is the woman who wins in the long run. What she's really doing is training her mind. She's feeding her future. And a well-fed future becomes unstoppable. Think of it this way. Every single minute you spend pointing out someone else's flaws is a minute you could have spent building your own strengths. Every time you drag someone else down in conversation, you lose a chance to lift yourself higher. Gossip gives a person a small, false sense of power, but it never builds anything that lasts. Growth is different. It's slow, it's often quiet, and sometimes it feels lonely. But it builds a legacy. It leaves behind something real and unshakable. A wise woman understands that if someone gossips to her, sooner or later they'll gossip about her. That's why she keeps her inner circle clean. She surrounds herself with people who talk about ideas, not individuals. Friends who discuss dreams, not drama. People who ask, "What have you been learning lately?" instead of, "Did you hear what she did?" Because she knows that just as iron sharpens iron, gossip dulls everything it touches. There's something else you notice about women like that. They have a quiet confidence about them. It's not showy or loud, but you can feel it when they walk into a room. They don't rush to judge others. They listen more than they speak. They take a moment to think before they react. That's the natural result of growth. The more you grow, the less you need to prove anything. The more you learn, the less interest you have in pointing fingers. You're too busy building something of your own. There's nothing more powerful than a woman who is working on herself. She doesn't have to announce it to the world. Her presence says it all. She shows up differently. She handles challenges with wisdom. She encourages others instead of envying them because she understands that another woman's success is not a threat to her. It's proof that success is possible. So, if you ever find yourself torn between joining a gossip session or putting that time into your personal growth, remember this: gossip might make you feel slightly superior for a few minutes, but growth will make you exceptional for a lifetime. Choose growth. Choose the books, the podcasts, the prayers, the moments of reflection, the silence that lets you hear your own thoughts, the mentors who challenge you, the habits that make you stronger. Choose to feed your soul instead of your ego. One day you'll look back and be proud, not just of what you built, but of who you became while building it. Women who truly know their worth never go around begging for it. A wise woman reaches a point where she no longer asks for validation, affection, or recognition from people who can't see her value. Often, she's learned this through deep pain and disappointment. She's discovered that begging for love or respect is like handing a crown to someone who doesn't even understand the meaning of royalty. She knows that one of the most dangerous things she could ever do is give someone else the power to write her story by letting them define her worth. There may have been a time when she didn't know better, when she thought giving more, sacrificing more, saying yes more often would finally make someone stay. Maybe she was in a relationship where she kept proving herself, lowering her standards just to be accepted. She laughed when nothing was funny. She stayed when her soul begged her to leave. She silenced her own voice so his could be louder. But over time, something inside her shifted. Not because anyone came to rescue her, but because she began to wake up. She looked in the mirror one morning and thought, "I don't even recognize myself anymore." That was the turning point. From that day forward, she started to rebuild. Not loudly, but with steady intention. It began with small steps, setting boundaries, saying no, without guilt, speaking up about what she wanted instead of waiting for people to guess. The world didn't cheer for her. Some even labeled her selfish. But she had tasted the emptiness of people pleasing, and she refused to starve her own heart just to feed others. She stopped confusing humility with humiliation. She understood that kindness does not mean becoming a doormat. She realized she could be gentle and still have firm standards. She could be warm, but still walk away when she was disrespected. Knowing your worth doesn't mean believing you're better than others. It means no longer accepting less than what you deserve. It means you stop chasing people. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places that were never built for you. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. And once you have that awareness, everything changes. Because when you truly know your value, you stop offering discounts. Take the example of a woman named Sana. She worked in a company where she was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. She did the work of 3 people, constantly solving problems, covering for others and helping her team shine. But every promotion cycle passed her by. She kept thinking, next time they'll notice. Next time they'll appreciate me. But that next time never came. One day, during a meeting, she watched a new hire, less experienced but louder, get assigned the project she had dreamed of leading. That day, she went home and cried. Not because she wasn't good enough, but because she realized she had been trying to prove her worth to people who were never going to see it. That night, she updated her resume. Within 3 months, she had multiple interviews. Soon, she accepted a position at another company where her skills were valued. Her work was respected, and she was trusted to lead. When asked why she left, she simply smiled and said, "I stopped begging for a seat at a table where I was always served last." Knowing your worth isn't just about leaving jobs or relationships that fail to honor you. It's also about the way you speak to yourself. A wise woman pays attention to the way she talks to herself. She no longer says things like, "I'm dumb," or "I'm not enough." She corrects those thoughts. She speaks to herself with the same care, kindness, and encouragement she once saved only for other people. She becomes her own strongest cheerleader. That belief inside her starts shaping the world around her. There is a calm strength in a woman who knows exactly what she brings to any situation. She doesn't compete with others. She doesn't compare herself. She doesn't chase after people or opportunities because she understands that anything that needs her to beg, convince, or keep proving herself over and over again is not in line with her worth. She's no longer moved by empty flattery or shallow connections. She seeks depth, honesty, and mutual respect. People sometimes say, "You've changed," but she hasn't really changed. She has simply stopped accepting less than she deserves. She's finally seeing herself clearly. The version of her who stayed quiet, who agreed to everything, who waited for approval from others, is gone. In her place stands a woman who holds her head high, speaks her truth, and walks away when something feels wrong. So when someone underestimates her now, she smiles, not with prideful arrogance, but with quiet understanding, because she knows that someone else's failure to see her value does not make her worth any less. She is like a diamond, whether sitting in a jewelry store or hidden in a dusty box. Its worth never changes. It only depends on who can recognize it. She knows her value. And because she knows it, she never pleads for it. Not in love, not in her career, not in friendships. She gives her best self fully. And if that's still not enough for someone, she leaves, not with bitterness, but with grace. Because she understands that real love, true respect, and genuine opportunities never demand begging. They recognize value and rise to meet it. And she is worth rising for. They turn setbacks into stepping stones. A wise woman does not see failure, heartbreak, rejection, or loss as the ending of her story. She sees them as important turning points. The times when her life fell apart were also the moments that forced her to dig deep, to discover parts of herself she had never explored. It's not that she never breaks down. It's that she learns how to rise again every time. Every tear she shed, every sleepless night she endured, every slammed door became fuel that pushed her forward. Not because she is superhuman, but because she refuses to stay broken. She turns pain into purpose, wounds into wisdom, and struggles into strength. Think of a woman named Alina. She had a dream to open her own clothing boutique. She spent years saving, planning, and finally opened her shop in the heart of the city. At first, business was exciting and hopeful, but after a few months, sales began to drop. The economy weakened, her landlord raised the rent, and slowly, her dream began to fade. After 2 years of fighting to keep it alive, she had no choice but to close it. She was crushed. She felt she had failed, not only herself, but everyone who had believed in her. For weeks, she couldn't bring herself to get out of bed. The fire inside her seemed gone. The silence of disappointment was deafening. But one afternoon, while packing up the last boxes from her store, she found an old notebook. Inside were drawings, designs, and journal entries from when she had first dared to dream. As she flipped through the pages with tears in her eyes, she realized something powerful. Her passion was still alive. The dream hadn't died. It had simply outgrown the place it started. That realization gave her new energy. Instead of opening another physical store, she decided to launch her brand online. Within a year, her designs began gaining attention. With consistency and genuine care, she built a loyal following of customers. Yes, her boutique had closed, but it had led her to something even bigger. A worldwide audience far beyond her city. Her breakdown became the exact path to her breakthrough. That is what wise women do. They don't let broken pieces define them. They gather those pieces. They think deeply about them, and they use them to build something stronger. It's not that they never fall, they do. But when they fall with awareness. They allow pain to teach them. They let life rearrange their plans because they know that sometimes what feels like the end is really a divine redirection. Life often tests you when you least expect it. A breakup, a betrayal, the death of a loved one, a sudden illness. These are not things anyone chooses. But a wise woman does not wait for life to return to how it was. She finds ways to keep moving forward, even if at first she can only crawl. And in that movement, no matter how slow, healing begins. Courage begins to grow. She rebuilds herself, not into the woman she once was, but into someone wiser, deeper, and stronger. Sometimes a breakdown forces you to face things you've ignored for too long. A harmful habit, a false identity, a pattern of pleasing others at your own expense. It strips away all the noise and makes you confront your truth. It's uncomfortable, but necessary, because in those quiet, broken moments, a woman learns exactly what she's made of. And what she is made of is something the world cannot truly break. Not for long. Even nature shows us this. Think of a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it must be buried in darkness. It must crack open. It must be pushed and pressed by the soil around it. But only through that pressure can it grow roots, rise toward the light, and become something beautiful. The same is true for a wise woman. Her hardest days are never wasted. They are shaping her, humbling her, preparing her for more. When people later see her thriving, smiling, shining, they might say she is lucky, or that she is naturally strong. But they don't see the pages of her story that she fought through. They don't see the nights she cried herself to sleep, or the mornings she forced herself to get up when every part of her wanted to stay down. That is the truth about strength. It is built quite quietly in private battles, in whispered prayers, in the decision to keep going no matter how heavy the weight feels. So if you are in the middle of your own breakdown, hear this. It is not the end. It may be the start of something beautiful. You are allowed to break, but don't choose to remain broken. You are allowed to feel lost, but don't stop looking for the way forward. The wise woman doesn't hide from the storm. She walks through it, even with shaking hands and an aching heart, knowing that sunshine waits on the other side. One day, you will look back and see that what once tried to destroy you was actually the thing that showed you your power. You will thank the pain for its lessons. You will stand taller, not because life got easier, but because you grew wiser. You will have turned your breakdown into your breakthrough, and that will make you unstoppable. Even nature repeats this lesson. Think of that seed again. Before it grows into a tree, it is buried in the soil's darkness. It must break open. It must push upward through the heavy dirt. Only with that struggle can it set down roots, reach toward light, and become something magnificent. A wise woman's journey is no different. Her hardest seasons are not wasted. They are shaping her, humbling her, preparing her. When people see her in the future, thriving and glowing, they may say she is lucky or unusually strong. But they do not always see the chapter she lost herself in, the night she lay awake in tears, or the morning she forced her body and mind to rise again. True strength is built in those hidden moments, in quiet choices, and in silent determination. So if you find yourself breaking, remember, this is not the end. It might be the first step toward the most beautiful chapter of your life. You may bend, but you will not stay broken. You may wander, but you will not stay lost. You will walk through the storm with trembling steps, holding on to the truth that the sun is still waiting for you. One day, you'll look back and see that the storm made you. You will thank it, you will stand taller, and you will know, without a doubt, that you are unstoppable.